Cambly learners, my name is Maxine and I'm a tutor on Cambly. In this video, you'll be learning how to use the simple past tense with me. Let's go. So, the simple past tense is used when you want to talk about an event or an action that happened in the past, or when you want to talk about something that existed before now. The simple past tense is one of the more common tenses used when speaking English. Before we start, it's important to know that when we use the simple past tense, the main verb in the sentence will change to the past tense by either adding a ed or simply a d to the end of the word. We add d when there is an e already at the end of the word. These are called regular verbs. Here are some examples. Look changes to looked. Kick, kicked. Work, worked. Live, lived. Bake, baked. Like, liked. There are also irregular verbs. Now, irregular verbs, the word changes completely when we use the simple past tense. Here are a few examples. Go changes to went. See, saw. Come, came. Give, gave. Say, said. Eat, ate. Now let's look at how we can form different kinds of sentences using the simple past tense. Firstly, the two basic structures that you can use are positive sentences, or sometimes called affirmative sentences, and negative sentences. Positive sentences are made using a simple formula: subject plus main verb plus object. Don't forget that when we are using the simple past tense, the main verb in the sentence will change to the simple past. For example, I kicked the ball. We saw a giraffe. They baked a cake. Negative sentences are made a little differently using the following formula: subject plus auxiliary verb do plus not plus main verb plus object. The auxiliary verb do will change to did in the simple past, and to make the sentence negative, we will add not after the auxiliary verb. When speaking, you can choose to use did not, or you can use the contraction didn't. When you are making negative sentences in the simple past tense, the main verb will stay in its base form. This means that it will not change. So the final formula will be subject plus did not or didn't plus base main verb plus object. Here are some examples. She did not go to work. I didn't like the cake. They did not swim. He didn't kick the ball. Okay, we've looked at forming basic simple past sentences, but before we continue, I need to discuss the subject of time. When using the simple past tense, the action is started and finished in the past. This means that the action is completed and it does not continue. The time of the action could be in the recent past, like yesterday, or it could be in the distant past, like 10 years ago. You can use ago to express the distance in the past, which is placed after the period of time, such as a minute ago, 2 weeks ago, 1 year ago, ages ago, or a long time ago. Some other examples of expressing time when speaking in the simple past tense are last night, week or weekend, when I, she or he was a child, the other day, or at 6 o'clock. You can place the expression of time either at the beginning of the sentence or at the end of the sentence. Let's see how we can put these expressions of time into sentences using positive and negative sentence structures. Yesterday, they baked a cake. She walked home the other day. Last week, she didn't go to work. He played the guitar when he was a child. They lived in Paris 3 years ago. Moving on to questions. Asking a question in the simple past tense is quite similar to making negative sentences. However, you need to exchange the auxiliary verb and the subject. So the formula will look a little bit like this. Did plus subject plus base main verb plus object plus question mark. To make the question negative, you simply apply the same rules as you would when making a negative sentence and add not after the auxiliary verb, like this. Did not or didn't plus subject plus base main verb plus object plus question mark. Here are some examples. Did you work from home? Did they go to the supermarket? Didn't she see the movie last night? Didn't he live in Australia 3 years ago? The last part of the simple past tense that we'll be looking at today is using the verb to be. In the past tense, the verb be will change to was or were depending on the personal pronoun and it. Be is the main verb of the sentence. So, I, he, she, and it will change to the verb was. We, they, and you changes to the verb were. So the basic positive formula that you can use would look like this. Subject plus was or were plus object. Here are some examples. I was at work last week. She was lucky. We were sleepy. They were on holiday last weekend. The negative formula would look like this. Subject plus was not or were not plus object. Remember, you can use the contracted form of was not and were not, which would change to wasn't and weren't. Here are some examples. It wasn't cold last weekend. She was not angry. We were not late. You weren't on the bus. When asking a question using the verb to be, you would exchange the main verb and the subject. Here are some examples. Was I asleep a minute ago? Was she in Africa last year? Were they late yesterday? Were you angry? Wow, we've come to the end of our lesson already. I really hope you've enjoyed learning about the simple past tense with me today. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Cambly, Cambly gives you instant access to friendly native English speakers just like me. You can take English lessons anytime, anywhere, using your phone or computer. Schedule your next lesson with me using the link below. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.